Hey everyone, it's Nathus. Today I'm going to be playing a couple online battle games using some of the decks that I opened in my first Battle for Whitefang Pass kit opening and sealed analysis. So first I'm going to play the deck that I fused and played yesterday. So this is the Tempest and Utera list. And then I'm also going to play the Tempest and Necrium list that Onk Gaming commented about that they think would be a better fuse for the sealed. So I'm going to play a couple games, a little bit with both decks, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to jump on the online battle queue and we'll get it going. And while I do this, I'm going to post both deck lists in the description of this video. So you could check them both out and let me know which one you think is better, just based on looking at the deck lists. So you could also check out the video where I open this kit and kind of talk through what I liked and what I didn't like from each of the half decks. So between this, we're going to see 3 of the 4 half decks from that kit. Unfortunately, the Oloyan deck was just not as exciting as the others in this kit. So we got a match. So we'll see who we play. Oh, we're playing against Nasreddin. Good stuff. All right, so it'll be interesting to see what they play. Unfortunately, there's no spells, so that Windy Stonefist is probably not getting played here. I could potentially use Combat Elk to my advantage to be able to block and kill getting that Slay. So likely we're going to be using Combat Elk as one of the plays. But again, it's going to be very dependent on what they play and kind of what lanes they play it in. So it looks like we're not going to be able to kill the Palladium Simulacrum right off the bat. What I'm probably going to do to start is play a Mystical Tangle Sprout. So we're going to be taking some damage this turn. But I think I'm going to play the Mystical Tangle Sprout first. Then we're going to let them mobility. We'll see what they do. And then I'm going to buff up the defense of one of these creatures, depending on which one gets played and how they play their turn. The reason why I'm playing this now, interesting. So we do have a Venerable Basher, which is definitely a card that I did not want to see as much. But right now, if I play the Combat Elk and I buff the health, that'll at least make it so this lives through the combat. And then next turn, if they move, even though we don't get to kill anything, they definitely played 2 high toughness creatures. Kind of ruined a little bit of my plan. But we do have Ice Storm here, which is pretty nice. Oh, no. Yeah, we do have Ice Storm and Thunder Crash. So we have a couple nice cards here that could help us out, depending on how they play this turn. But to start here, there's a couple options. I think we have to go with Warbringer Ritual. I'm going to try to... Part of me wants to try to bait them moving into the Warbringer Ritual lane or trying to set up the Ice Storm. I think in general, if I play it here, it's going to force them to move their Simulacrum to the left so it doesn't die. That way, there's not a lot of flexibility with it in future turns. So I guess if anything, that's kind of just one of those plays where we're forcing them to either die or basically, ooh, we got a Pocketmancer here. So again, unfortunately, we can't kill anything. Well, I guess we can't kill the Apocalypser with the Ice Storm. So probably what we do here is we kill the Basher, deal 2 damage to the Apocalypser, and then hope we have something that could kill it for the next turn. But now, again, either this Simulacrum is going to die, or this gets forced into the empty lane, which... At this point now, I'll take 6, yes, but they take 5. And then at the end of the day, now this really doesn't have a lot of mobility options moving forward. Now, Venom Chalice, unfortunately, will not kill that Apocalypser right now. So that'll be a little tough. But we'll see how they start this turn. Likely that Apocalypser staying on the board. Got a Warmonger mod. That's interesting. So obviously they're doing a setup for replacing over here. I probably have to Venom Chalice that Gizmo. When we do, I guess I'm going to put the Venom Chalice in It's interesting. I could go in the Apocalypser lane, or I could go in the Captain lane. I think we're going to go in the Apocalypser lane, just because then when I play a creature here, for when I'm on Forge, it'll be a lot harder for them to kill. So now if they want to replace, they're going to have to replace one of their other 2 creatures, which will make it a little bit harder for their board state to keep pushing forward. Now, I will say, to the defense of what Ankh was saying in the comments of the YouTube video, the 2 horrific creatures, which you'll see in the Necrim list, would do a lot of work in this current board state. Probably a little bit more work than some of these Uteric creatures. Because again, there's just not enough life gain to really take advantage of something like Swamp Moss Lurker or Hibernating Ravager. Yep, so as I expected, they replaced their captain. Alright, so this turn I'm going to let the Apocalypser hit me. If I go Hibernating Ravager, it's going to die. So I guess no matter what I play, it's going to get killed by the Palladium Simulacrum. So I think I want to upgrade the Stampeding Warstoker just because it becomes a very big body after this turn, or once it's upgraded. So we're taking 8. We're definitely a little behind where we would like to be. We also only have 2 spells in our banish pile, so that Windy is not going to do a ton for us. We also had another no spell hand when we needed it, so that's a little brutal. But I feel like here, probably just throwing that Shardplate Behemoth in the Venom Chalice lane, even though it's a little early to do it. We're getting 11 power. The odds of them killing this are pretty low. That Apocalypser is likely just going to die. I could be wrong. Oh, that Glitch Scout's definitely going to become a problem. Especially because now if I go to kill this Glitch Scout, he could just mobility both of them. So at this point, the Windy probably is our best bet. That way we could do 2 damage to one of these creatures. And I guess what we'll do is we'll put it in this lane. That way they can't get the trigger off of the level 2 Glitch Scout. Actually, let's check to see. Set a creature's power to 0. So yeah, we'll deal the damage over here. Oh, was it 3? I think I miscounted. Oh, it is 3 because the Venom Chalice died. Okay, so that's not as bad. So actually, we're going to Windy Stonefist here. That way, if they mobility and try to trick a little bit, this will trade. Or they could set the power to 0, and if they use it here, I'm not super upset. Well, that's one thing that could definitely make an impact. That Venerable Captain is pretty sweet. So at least the Apocalypser is going to die, but now they're going to have to upgrade a card off that Windy Stonefist. And they've got a couple of very large creatures. But I will say the problem I felt a little bit with this yesterday is just it lacks a little bit of oomph. And like right now, after that Captain, nothing can really be killed by this Ice Storm effectively. So that's a little unfortunate as well. But we do have Disintegrate. That might be something we're going to have to deal with here, or utilize here. I'm probably going to do Disintegrate as the first action, and then Ice Storm as the second. So I do have the ability to play a free spell. So maybe I'll I could technically Botanimate into Hibernating Ravager. That doesn't feel great. So Disintegrate definitely is our move here. Without a doubt. Now, depending on what they play, we potentially stim bolt here. Right, this Ice Storm now is going to make sure that this Glitch Scout dies. So that's actually pretty nice. And one of the reasons as well why if I am going to use a free spell and play a creature, I'm doing that as my second action is because of the ability here. They have the set of creatures power to 0. Summoning Council. All right. So at least one of these wisps is going to die. So what we're going to do to start, we'll play a spell for free. We're going to Ice Storm just to deal some damage. I guess now the question is, do I want to Botanimate or drop out that Tangle Sprout? So I could play the Tangle Sprout, level it. It's not like super amazing if I level it, but like here it's not really going to protect me, but I guess it's going to help me get a bigger creature later. You know what? They're also off Forge, so putting a lot into this Tangle Sprout could actually not be ideal. You know what? I'm just gonna. That's 11. I'll take. No, I'm gonna Tangle Sprout. I'm gonna take a risk. This way I have it for next turn. I could trade with that Glitch Scout, but I think I just need something on board. But overall, this is not looking great. Yeah, I feel like we're just not hitting what we need to be hitting here. Thing is, if I go Bartok, then they have the ability to set one of my creatures' powers to 0. The Stampeding Warstoker is likely the creature that will be reset. I could try to spread the damage a little, and that's probably what I have to do. So if I go Combat Bartok here, they're probably going to mobility. But at least this prevents 7 damage. I feel like there's a few cards that I just have not seen at the rate at which I need to for this deck to be successful. Like, not seeing Botanimate till cycle 2 is a little tough. But, like, I guess this shows the weakness of this list is that even though there's some, like, good removal and things like that, it's just there's enough missing that if you miss these cards in certain cycles, like, the level 1s are a little underwhelming. Like, this Thunder Crash, if I can't establish it early, it's really not helping me. Alright, so now part of me wants to go Warstoker. If I do, it's going to go in front of the captain, and then they're going to set the power to 0. But at this point, it is what it is, because it will at least live. Specifically because of that +2/+2. I'm also going to give it another +2/+2. So, they're obviously going to set this power to 0. But, at least, again, it's a lane that we're clogging. Yep. Alright, so now I guess this turn is going to be critical in terms of getting some cards that we would need in order to survive. So it's funny, this Winning Stonefist might actually help us a ton. Although we only have 1, 2, 3, we got 5. We got 5 spells, so we could kill something. And our ability here is +3 attack, mobility 2. So the Windy Stonefist is definitely coming out. No, that doesn't help us as much. Every time where you have the removal, we got the captain just to really get in the way. But what can you do? And I'm also now off Forge, so this is going to deal 11 no matter what now. Yeah, and the Windy Stonefist is not going to help us. So we are not dead officially yet. So we have to play a card in this empty lane, which we're just going to go Rageborn Eruptor, and then the second play is going to be a Windy Stonefist. Yeah, but I would have needed to kind of hit some of these cards a little better. Like that Captain every time was just really tough for this deck to handle. Hitting that on curve with all the warriors on board. Although the Simulacrum's not a warrior, at least. But the Windy Stonefist is going to at least kill the Basher. And we have to block as much as we can. So we're going to drop it here. We are only taking 11. We're not going to Gale Surge here because of the armor. So Venom Chalice, not helpful with the current health based on giving everything +6/+6. We could go Mystical Tangle Sprout. That at least will buff something. We could start with the War Stoker, and then I guess go with the Tangle Sprout after the fact. We're gonna take enough damage to die, most likely. But I guess we do have our Forgeborn ability to mobility. So if we drop this, pass, they're likely going to play a creature and replace. Yep, so they're getting 3 replaces, and I'm just dead. Or 2 replaces, I mean, sorry. Yeah, so that's just lethal. That's some good stuff. Yeah, so I just take 10. Yeah, even though this deck has something like Botanimate, if I can't keep it on curve, it's just you can't handle some of these decks that just really pump up the board. So it's an interesting deck. I think that I may have made the wrong decision when I made my sealed list. So we're going to change it up. We're going to play the Tempest and Necrim list. The one that Ankh Gaming mentioned might be a good fit. So we're going to just quickly look at that deck. So we got the same red half, which we didn't actually see that Combat Evoker at all during that last game, which was interesting. The purple half has a Hibernating Banshee, a Fiend. It's got 2 horrific creatures, so we're seeing the Horrific Butcher here and the Horrific Demon. We also have a Cold Heart Brute, which can trigger off of the Exalts and give your minions or your zombies buffs. We've got a Keeper of the Damned to create some zombie minions, and then we've got a Hibernating Fiend as well. From the spell side, we've got a Primordial Slam and Epidemic, so the Primordial Slam is a Betrayer, and we also have a Wither Frost Circle. So overall, it's interesting. We'll see if this can really help us in terms of having a little bit more soft removal, but it's a little bit more often. So we'll give this a go and see if it's any better. Ooh, and I got a message from Nosredin with GG. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, so we are waiting to try to find an opponent. See how this deck will do. But it is really nice to be able to play people and then you just get like a message on Discord being like, oh, that was a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying that part of the client. Just by being able to jam some games and then just like connect with people who, like, again, I might not have been able to connect with him for a game if we just looked at the looking for a game like we were on Tabletop Simulator before. So I will say though that the queues are definitely a little bit slower than they were the first few days of the release, which is expected because in the first few days everyone is just going to be swarming in. But I have noticed last night and today it's been taking a little bit longer to find an opponent. So that's going to probably be fluctuating. I do know that a lot of people have been playing some higher power level decks on the client in these online battles. And there have been some newer players who have kind of said, hey, like, there's a lot of really good stuff here. It's being a little discouraging, which one of the reasons why I'm trying to do these sealed deck battles in here is to, first of all, try to even the playing field a little bit, because I have like over 3,000 decks in my collection. And it's very easy for me to just be like, hey, these are two awesome decks. Let me just put them together. Where a lot of people might only have a couple boosters. So going through, opening up one booster and just building decks from it, not only is it fun to play some sealed, but it's also good to kind of balance a little bit in the online queues, just because I was guilty of it on the first day, bringing out some pretty strong decks just because I wanted to like test them. And then I wasn't really thinking about the fact that, like, hey, some people that I'm playing against, they are playing just the demo decks. So you don't really want to kind of just bring your best stuff and just make people not feel great about the game that they played. Because really the goal here is trying to retain people into the game. So they try it, they enjoy it, they want to keep playing, and they want to also like pick up decks and keep building. So that's definitely something that is important, and something that I guess once they do an official matchmaking queue that's a little bit more weighted upon either ELO or upon deck level, I think that's going to help a lot, just to make sure that, like, hey, if someone's playing a more competitive list or like a silver or a gold, they're not just going to go into a queue with somebody playing only the starter decks. So we'll see how that develops, but that's something I do think is a challenge that they're going to have to solve before this goes to official release. Otherwise, they will push some of the newer players away. Because again, people who have played the game for a while, they do really just want to play the decks that they own, because sometimes you don't get to play a ton. It's like, hey, there's this really fun list that I haven't played in a long time. I think it'll be a good time to play it. And then again, sometimes it could just be a little overwhelming for someone who hasn't played the game a lot, playing against something that's like, oh, I'm going to gain like 100 life this game, or oh, I'm going to kill you in cycle 2 turn 1 with a ton of aggro, which granted, those are all very reasonable things, and it's going to happen in local scenes, especially if you're just playing online, or sorry, playing in person and playing at a store. There will be players with good decks. Ooh, and we found a match against Dusty 2911. All right, so we got some different cards this time. I do really want to play this Combat Evoker, just because this Evoker's a card that I've really never played in set 2. And I played it yesterday. Might have been the first time ever. It's whenever you play a spell, it just gets buffed. And the fact that there are, like, I think 7 spells in this build, even if the level 1 gets killed pretty quickly, this 8-6 and this 11-10 could be very strong and very interesting. So, ooh, no, we got a Thundersoar. That's not ideal. So I could deal 4 damage to it, make this a 7. That is really not what I want to be doing here. So I could go Horrific, or I could go Indomitable Fiend. Although I do feel like it's important to level Ice Storm. If I don't, I'll be upset. So I'm going to do it. Probably not the best move I've ever done, but at least as of right now, my Evoker will live, unless they ping their Thundersoar by 1. Now, granted, part of me wants to level the Horrific creature, just because, again, being able to give something -3/-3 just for playing it at level 2 is interesting. Although, even if you play it under-leveled, you only lose 1 attack and 1 health of stat. So I'm not super upset if I don't level this card. Although, watch, later in cycle 2, I'm going to draw the level 1 Horrific Demon, and they're going to have a 3 toughness creature on the other side. Now that Lightning Spark is pretty solid here, because now I just gave them 4 free attack on their Thundersoar. So I don't have Botanimate this time. So that will make it a little bit harder. Although we do have the Stampeding Warstoker. So we could play this second potentially. There's also the chance of playing Horrific Butcher, but the Butcher is not going to kill the Thundersoar. So we're potentially going to go Horrific Butcher against... Oh, that's not great. So they got All right, so they gave this +3/+0 with their Everflame aura, and then they played a Venerable Assassin. So I do think here we're probably going to play the Horrific Butcher in front just to mitigate a little bit of damage. And then we're probably going Stampeding Warstoker as my second play. Now, obviously, this has stealth, so we're not blocking here. But giving this -2/-2 doesn't, like, it helps, just so I'm taking a little less damage. Now, the Steadfast Justicar is just another big body. But we're going to have to kill this Thundersoar. Otherwise, it's just going to become too big and too annoying. So we're going to take a lot of damage this turn. We're taking 4, 10, 15. So we're not in a great spot. All right. So we have played one spell. So our Windy Stonefist isn't going to be super helpful. If I play Thunder Crash first, I could get another body off of that Cold Heart Brute. So that might be a way to go. So we're going to go Thunder Crash. So it is a spell and an Exalt. I guess the option is either Cold Heart Brute or the Asir Mech Mage. So I could Mech Mage and deal 4 damage to the Justicar. We'll see what they play. I don't really like having to play a defensive turn, though, when I'm on Forge. But being down 15 life already definitely puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage. Okay, so at least I'm not super upset about having this Fire Fist Uranti here. As expected, because now this will die after the next turn. So, again, if I Windy Stonefist, that doesn't help me. If I go Asir Mech Mage, they're going to block and kill it. If I go Cold Heart Brute, I could make... Yeah, I think Cold Heart Brute here is interesting because I make a Zombie Brute if I have the other Thunder Crash on board, and I make a 4 attack zombie. So we're going to make a zombie because I have an Exalt. We're going to give our zombies +1. So this will still trade, and we still get a 3/1 on board. Now, granted, the Mech Mage is interesting, but I feel like at a higher level, I think I just need this Brute leveled up. We'll see if I regret it. We've got a lot of big bodies coming out this game. We're going to get our Slate Trigger off the Butcher. Now, if we do draw the Butcher next turn, it will slay if we end up giving it minus. But we did not get the Butcher here. So the ability to play a free spell. I'm sad that we didn't really hit that Warbringer Ritual during that cycle, though, because this is a card that I want to level early, just because being able to make 2 spell sprites and play a spell for free is pretty critical. So I have a feeling they're going to replace this Gizmo. I'm going to gamble that it's going to have whatever creature that they replace it with is going to have less than 6 base health, so we could disintegrate it. We'll see if that ends up being a bad gamble. I guess if it doesn't work out, we could Stampeding Warstoker instead. Oh, and we have the Enhance there too. So I think we're going to go Warbringer Ritual first. And then if we have to, we'll use our free spell to disintegrate. I don't want to block the Fleet Colossus now because it has mobility. So I would just make it so they just move and push damage. So that's why I need to do the spell sprite first. Now, I guess their options are either they replace the one that's not in front of the spell sprite, and I'm able to then kill this Gizmo by disintegrating, or they replace this one, and then I don't feel as bad taking 2 damage if I need to. So we're not in a horrible position depending on what they do. All right, well, that is a card that will not die to Disintegrate. So I think we do have to Disintegrate it just for the sake of killing that other gizmo. So now the question is, are we going to go Rageborn Eruptor and make a 5/6, or do we go Stampeding Warstoker? So we'll have a 12/12 potentially next cycle. The either will die in front of this 8/5, but I need to kill it. So this would make a 7/9 if I don't play another Exalt. I do think we're just gonna level this, get it to cycle 3 or level 3. So we have a Horrific, so we can kill here. I guess technically I could Epidemic the board. Not a huge fan of that, but maybe we do it anyway. I don't play this card enough. Although, I really do want to... There's a couple cards I want to play out of this hand. I think we're going to start with Horrific. Just kill that right off the bat. I think we're either going to go Windy or Combat Evoker. That augmentation is pretty solid. We got 1, 2, 3 spells. So I think we just drop the Combat Evoker here. Kill that. At this point, there's no reason to play Epidemic, and I will not kill anything with the Windy. Alright, so this is a 9/1, so hopefully we draw another Horrific or something, which we did. So that at least helps us push some damage here, or not take damage here. And we get to get a trigger off of the Slay. Now, if they happen to play something next to that Assassin, we could Ice Storm instead. There is a part of me that's wishing I didn't use my ability, so I could have played the Thunder Crash into the second Cold Heart Brute, but it's not the end of the world. So Cold Heart Brute's out of the question here, I think. We're going to start with the Horrific, and then I guess we'll see what happens. I don't want them to somehow buff the health there, so we're just going to Butcher right away. Now we're likely playing either Ice Storm or Thunder Crash. It really depends on what hits the board. If we Thunder Crash, this will buff and kill the Fire Fist. So I guess it's just really dependent on what gets played. Now, if this is like an Everflame Aura, I'm fine with that. Then they put a lot of effort into killing here. So this is not bad, actually. Although if they play the Spell Sprite here, I was like, I almost would have to feel obligated to play the Ice Storm. So if I Ice Storm, I kill these two. If I Thunder Crash, I only kill one. So we're gonna Ice Storm. I feel like each of these games, though, there's like 1 or 2 cards I'm not seeing through the first few cycles. Like here, I have not seen what's the card? So I'm gonna look at my deck list real quick. We have not seen Witherfrost Circle. I'm like, there's a card I know I'm not seeing, and I guess I say it out loud, and now here it is. So here we've got Gale Surge. We're gonna Thunder Crash Field first. I guess technically it depends on what they play. Witherfrost Circle is a card that I really like to hopefully draw early and get going early so I could get the upgrades going. Unfortunately, like I said, I saw this a little too late. All right, this is actually good because I could Ice Storm and just kill this Mega Gizmo. We got to get this off the board before they could replace it. Now, they also could just make a Mega Gizmo minion, so that's not great. So maybe I'm just gonna. Oof. There's a part of me that just wants to Ice Storm this, but I think. You know, we're probably not getting out of this cycle. Is my guess. I gotta play aggressive here. The odds of me seeing that Ice Storm again is not super high. I'm gonna save my Gale Surge when I'm off Forge. Now, granted, they could just drop a Mega right now and kill potentially 1 to 2 of my creatures, depending on what they play. So, I guess we'll see how this goes. So we're doing the Mega. Oh, interesting, and it's in front of the Butcher. Okay, so they're getting the double kill. But I'm glad to get rid of that Mega Gizmo. Alright, so now the Brute is not bad, because we do have 2 Exalts. So I can make a Brute, give it a buff, and then we also have the Horrific or the Disintegrate. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells in our Banish. So we could do 5 damage to something with the Windy Stone Fist. That's some good placements. Now I can't use the Horrific Demon to kill the Metamind. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Cold Heart Brute and make the Zombie Brute first. Actually, well, while we can, I guess we'll block, kill this, and let this survive. So we're going to make the Brute in the Thunder Crash lane. We're going to give it a buff so we deal the 2 damage. Then depending on what happens here, we're either going to Disintegrate or play a Horrific Demon. Or I guess there's a chance Windy Stone Fist is an option too. The Unstable Vortex is not getting played though, I can tell you that. If I had another creature in the front of the lanes, I probably would have used the Gale Surge here. We're going to see what they play first, but there's a chance that we do not Gale Surge. Oop. That was smart, because now it's just out of Disintegrate range, which we're still going to Disintegrate it, but... Oh, no, it's 14. I'm thinking 10. I don't know what I'm thinking. So this will be just enough to be able to kill it. So that worked out very well for me. Then next turn, we're going to Gale Surge. Alright, so we're going to start with the Evoker. And then the Horrific Butcher is probably going to be our second play. Oh, disintegrate, nice. All right, so we're gonna go with the butcher. Then we're gonna Gale Surge here to deal 4 damage. And then that'll be it. So we'll see if they could block more than one creature. Although I guess they would need to block 3 in this situation. So I think this might be the end of the game. So when I was doing the math, I was like, oh, I forgot to take away that 4 that they just took off of the Gale Surge. But yeah, so if they had the 19, they could have blocked 2 and been in a good spot. But unfortunately, I do think this might be it. Although, what could they have? Out of the stuff I saw, I actually don't know if there's anything, unfortunately. But I will say, this deck definitely in this game felt a little bit better than the Utera half that I had before. The interesting thing is that, like, the horrific is interesting, but it's just there's a lot of creatures you can't deal with when you use something like that. Um, my worry is that like too much conditional removal can be a problem. But that being said, all right, let's see what they're killing here. But yeah, too much conditional removal could be a problem if you can't kill the big things in front of you. Everything did line up this game, which is great. I don't know if it's just that we got lucky or if this deck just runs a lot better. But overall, I will say that it felt very strong. So I definitely can't complain. So we'll get one more game going, see how it feels, and see if we could get similar results. But I will say, the first 3 games with the first views were all losses, and this first game with this Necreum list was a win. So definitely, it felt good. I will say it felt very good. So we'll see if we can get one more game in, see how that goes, and see if we can get some play against some big creatures and see how we feel. Ice Storm's always nice if we could get it leveled. Disintegrate's always nice if you can time it well with a big creature hitting the board. So yeah, overall I think I'm happy in general with both of the games that we played, or both of the decks, but this one's definitely been fun. All right, so we're playing against Dusty. So being off Forge. Oh, that Lycian Rain is just out of range of this Horrific Butcher. I still think I want to play it to level it. We'll give this -1 or -2, -2. That way we potentially get our Butcher trigger. But if anything, Ankh Gaming, thank you for making that comment and making me look at this list again, because this was something that I kind of wrote off, and I was like, oh yeah, like I like the Utera list better, but I do think this is a very fun combo, and I'm glad I'm giving this a go. Now here's an interesting decision. So I'm not playing the Utera list anymore, so I don't have to worry about my life being above 50. We could go Rageborn. I feel like I've been enjoying the Stampede Warstoker more than I should. It's very fragile in Cycle 1, but 8 damage with Breakthrough is pretty strong. Alright, so we're on Forge now. I guess we're going to start with the Evoker. We'll see what they play. And then we'll probably go Disintegrate or Fiend. But probably... Alright, so... Will I take the 5? I kind of like having the body on the board, making them have to deal with it. I think I could hopefully, with my board state, push a little bit more damage than the 5 I'll take. But I might be wrong. But we're going to take the 5 here, especially because we're about to Disintegrate. I'm going to have to keep track of how much damage this minion ends up doing. So the thing is, I feel like they're going to have to deal with these two bigger creatures. So having this extra body on the board could be beneficial. Oh, nice. That glow hive here is pretty good. I'm glad that the War Stoker is big enough to kill this in the current state, unless they somehow have another spell to play. All right, good. So far, this Wisp has done 2. Although technically, even if it doesn't deal damage with this Keeper of the Damned, if I could sacrifice it into a mindless zombie, that could also be helpful. Oh, this is so nice. So I just got a message on Discord saying, hey man, you're playing my 13-year-old right now. When I told him he's playing against the world champ, he was pretty excited. Thank you for all you've done for the game. And he hopes it takes off and gets even bigger. We game with Aaron and Evan from GVG, who I grew up with. Oh, that's so nice. That's very cool. Well, I hope this is a good game, and I'll definitely have to message him back while we're going on with this game. All right, so we're going to start with the Warbringer Ritual. Part of me wants to block this zombie, but I think I'm gonna... No, I'm gonna block the zombie. Alright, so this Wisp, honestly, is doing some good stuff for me, because it's preventing this 5 damage here, because they're, instead of open laning and dealing 5 to me, they're going in front of this Wisp. So likely what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop the Keeper of the Damned, and I'm going to kill one of my minions to make a bigger creature. So we'll go Keeper of the Damned. We're not killing this Sigmund Fraud either way, and I kind of want this zombie to die now. So we're going to kill our Spell Sprite to make a mindless zombie. So at least we kill here. These will trade. This lives. I guess it dealt 2 damage and prevented 5, so overall it netted me better than if I didn't play it at all. Or if I let it die to the creeper. All right, so they've got play up to 2 wisps. I do kind of like the hibernating banshee here, and it gets big, so we're gonna hibernating banshee and hope for the best. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say I should have Indomitable Fiended, but the Indomitable Fiend, if I play it and kill it, then it's going to immediately just replace the zombie. All right, so we're definitely gonna take none here, or we're gonna take 6. But yeah. All right, so I have no spells. This is... So I guess our option here is we technically could play the Hibernating Fiend and kill it to make a zombie, but this is not going to kill the Creeper either way. We're probably just going to play the Evokist. Or Evoker, I mean. That way, we try to start pushing a little more damage again. There's nothing to kill on my board, but Tanimate is nice here. Alright, so our Epidemic here is not great with our free spell, so we're going to save our ability for next turn. We've got only 2 spells in our discards, or our banish, so this Windy Stonefist isn't great here. The Horrific Butcher is going to be nice for hopefully removing this creeper, depending on what they play. Zimis. Zimis always is tough to deal with because you don't want to put resources into removing it, and it's just going to always just stay on board and make it hard for you. So we definitely start with the Horrific Butcher, though. We kill the creeper and deal that damage. Try to recover a little bit of board state. And I guess now we see what they play. If we had a third spell here, we probably could have Windied to kill the Zimis to let it die a second time. But in this situation, that's probably not great. Although, we'll see what they play. If I could kill something just by blocking this with this Windy. Alright, so actually... never mind. I was going to say we could Windy and deal 2 damage to the Torgmai Guardian, but that's not really going to put us ahead anywhere. The Rageborn Eruptor being a 4/6 with Breakthrough is interesting. I think we are just going to play the Windy Stonefist. We're going to deal the damage to the Torgmai, so it's easier to kill later. And then we just have a 5/5 on the board. The 4/6 with Breakthrough is interesting, but I want this to be a little more manageable, especially if I draw a Horrific card. Hope is that we get some spells, which we did. Good. So we can go Warbringer Ritual into Thunder Crash and throw out like 3 spell sprites. Although what could be interesting is go Thunder Crash, then we could use our free spell to go Warbringer Ritual into Disintegrate, and then we could play like the Stampeding Warstoker. So I think that's the goal. And we'll go the Thunder Crash. So if they play 2 spells, yeah, so we're going here. So, oh, when I say spells, I mean creatures. But they also do have the ability to play 2 Wisps. So they could make 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures. This could go to 6, and this is only going to go to 5 this turn. So, you know what? I'm still okay with this position. Alright, so we got the Ferocious. We definitely have to disintegrate this. So we're going to go Wordbringer Ritual into Disintegrate using our free spell. Then we're going to replace one of these creatures with the Stampeding Warstoker. So I guess we could hope that he's going to play a spell as the second play. But my guess is the answer to that is going to be no. But the fact that Warbringer Ritual at level 2 makes 2 bodies and lets you play a free spell is such an awesome card. So we are going to start by playing our free spell. We're going to go Warbringer Ritual into Disintegrate. So now we're going to get 2 triggers off the Thunder Crash. Now the question is, which of these do I replace for the Warstoker? This is a 5/5. This is a 3/4, which could basically become a 5 or a 7. I think overall I'm going to get more value out of that 5/5. And the more I'm playing this deck, even though that green list definitely had some really strong cards, I think from a synergy standpoint, I 100% agree with Ankh that this is the better play for this pool. So I'm glad that I went back and played this Fuse as well. So once again, thanks Ankh for commenting that and mentioning that, because I very much appreciate that, or appreciate getting to play this deck that I might not have if you didn't say something. All right, so we don't have another spell for this Warbringer Ritual, which is a little sad. But having a 7 spell deck, that could definitely do it. Now, actually, I noticed this last game, and I'm noticing it again. Both games, I did not see my... Well, I can't even remember the card because I'm not seeing it. The Purple Exalt. We did not see Witherfrost Circle until Cycle 3, Turn 1 last game. Or sorry, Cycle 2, Turn 3 last game. In this game, it's Cycle 3, Turn 1 that we're not seeing it. So that's definitely interesting. Something to note in terms of just variance from the game. So we're saving the Horrific Butcher for second. I do kind of like playing the Keeper of the Damned and then just turning this into a 6/6. Although, if we do that, there's a chance that we don't push damage. So we're just going to play the 8/6 first, and we're not going to activate. Because right now this is in the front lane. Now, if they play a creature in front of my Windy Stonefist, then I activate and make a 6/6. Oh. Plus 13 and 13 health. I almost need to replace it with the Horrific Butcher, because that's probably the only way I'm going to be able to remove this. And they've got Nova's Wrath. Alright, so yeah, we're definitely going to have to go... We'll just activate first, because it's fun to activate. But we definitely have to Horrific Butcher and kill there. That's the only way that I get rid of that card this game, I think. So that Horrific Butcher came in real handy here. Now I could technically mobility. Oh, hold on. We'll Gale Surge first. We'll keep our body. So we can move this here, here, and then we Horrific Butcher. Wow, I almost missed that. All right. So here on Forge, definitely want to push that Stampeding. They've got Nova's Wrath. So if they can play a minion, they could give it +6 and kill one of my big bodies, which is nice. I do think that Gale Surge made it so I have enough of a board state to make it very difficult for this turn. Having 2 breakthrough big creatures is tough to deal with. Yep, that was smart. Botanimate, just get rid of that big threat. There's well, nice. I think that's not bad here. Oh, because then they activate and they deal the damage exactly like I said. So that's amazing. That's perfect. Luckily, I don't have removal here. Otherwise, that could have been really good. But I do have the ability to at least turn this into a brute. But they played this turn very well. But I think we're going to have to go trying to push as much as we can. So we'll just play that 4/6, which becomes a 5/6. So they're going to kill my 13/5. And at that point, likely that's the end of the game, unless they could somehow fill the board. Mantis here, which makes 2 Wisps. Okay. Okay. They live. Just block the 2 bigger ones. Oh yeah, so just activate your ability, though. Don't forget to do that. If they activate, they kill the breakthrough creature, then they're in a good spot. What a recovery, though. I was thinking to myself, wow, it's going to be hard for them to live through this turn. Good. Okay, perfect. Oh no. That's still an awesome move, but unfortunately with Breakthrough, if they choose this, I'm still going to win off of that 13-5. But either way, that was an awesome recovery. They played this game really well. So with that, this was a lot of fun to play more of that sealed deck pool. Initially, I definitely looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, that Utera Tempest is really nice together. And there are some nice synergies in that list. But I definitely agree with Aunt Gaming that this Necrom Tempest deck is a lot more fun and competitive in terms of just having good removal. I actually don't think I've ever played a horrific creature before because I haven't played a ton of my set 2 stuff because I play a lot of set 1. So playing those horrific creatures, they're a lot better than I give them credit for, especially when something has Slay and horrific. So overall, that was a lot of fun. And I'm definitely going to be doing this more often. So I've got 3 more booster kits out of that booster display. So I'll be doing at least 3 more sealed openings with games like this. And then, yeah, I'll probably try to run a bunch more games with these sealed decks as well. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you had a great time watching, and I'll see you guys next time.